I want to introduce you to the digital SLR camera. This is the digital single lens reflex camera. This one is the Canon EOS 700, which we have for our photojournalism unit. It's a great little camera. You can shoot some beautiful pictures with it. You can also shoot beautiful pictures with an iPhone. In fact, the technology between the iPhone and digital SLRs is getting closer and closer. So why would you use this one when it looks more complicated? Well, you can do things with this camera that you can't do with the iPhone, which will become clear as you go through this unit. When you first pick up the SLR camera, you can be intimidated by all the buttons and dials on it. So let's see if we can simplify this. The dial on the top of the camera is called the mode dial, where you can select different settings, so the camera takes different sorts of pictures. But to simplify it, because it does look complicated, you can think of the camera as operating in just two modes. One is manual and the other is automatic. At the moment, the camera is set to that little picture of a man running, or somebody running, which must be for fast action. The next one is a flower for close-ups. Then there's a picture of a mountain for landscape pictures, and then a picture of a person's head for portraits. So the camera knows what are the best settings of aperture and speed and light for those particular situations. There's a couple of others as well, but those four ones you might fall back on if you forget how to use the manual mode, which is the other side of the dial, and really the one you should be learning to use. There's the P mode, the TV mode, which isn't for video, it's for time, adjusting the time value it's called, time priority. Then AV mode, which is aperture priority or aperture value. And finally M mode, completely manual mode. It still looks a bit complicated, so to simplify it again, I'm suggesting you just set the camera to AV mode and try the camera out in many situations just using that mode. AV mode means that you can set the aperture value according to the mood you want to create, according to the scene you've got, and the camera then sets automatically the shutter speed to go with that, and the light to go with that. How do you set that aperture? With this dial here. Let me show you. If we open up the lens, open up the screen, you'll see it's set to AV mode currently, and it's set to an aperture of f13. We can go down in numbers to 3.5, as is low a number as we can get with this lens. It's actually the widest size of the aperture, which lets a lot of light in, gives you a faster speed and a short depth of field. Or we can stop down. Funny thing to say stop down, because we're going up in numbers, but we're going down in the size of the aperture to f22, and that would mean that the camera shutter has to stay open longer, but you get a sharper image and a bigger depth of field normally. But somewhere in between would be often where you would set the aperture in this AV mode. You just need to experiment a few times and see what it does with different situations. Simple way to remember the relationship between f-stop, aperture and depth of field is that the large f-stop means large depth of field and more light needed. Small f-stop is a small depth of field and less light needed. In photography, stopping down is increasing the f-stop number.